Hi guys, my name is Kirsty and welcome back to Upside Down Books. Today we are doing a very spontaneous video. So first of all, I apologize for the slight weird glow on my face. I'm trying to make lighting work at nearly 5 p.m. at night because I've just finished reading Verity by Colleen Hoover and we need to talk about it. So the light is bad and I'm using just about every bit of artificial light I can turn on in my room to be able to just film this and get all the thoughts out of my head because holy shit! That book was insane. I have just read my favourite book for 2019. I know it. Nothing is going to be better than Verity. This may be the peak of my reading career. This book has outdone me. So for those of you who don't know what Verity by Colleen Hoover is, you're missing out as a start. But as a second, it's an amazing piece of fiction written by our beloved Colleen Hoover. Now, Colleen Hoover, let's just take this back even further, is an amazing, brilliant American author who writes a lot of romance that is tragic, sad, and often with unexpected plot twists. I say this having read exactly 2 or 3 of her books. I've read It Ends With Us, which was mind-blowing to read, and the last one of her books I've read. And I also read, I feel like it was Unbroken. I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna have to look it up, but truth be told, I can't be bothered looking it up, so let's just move on from that point. I read Verity via audiobook, and I bought it not because it was well recommended or I was particularly excited about it. I've actually heard almost nothing about this book since it was released, but because for Audible's 5th anniversary, it went on sale for $5, and I thought, I'll get me some of that. I wasn't expecting much. So yeah, all up it is like 10 minutes over 8 hours. It's quite a short audiobook. Although 8 hours isn't horrifically short, I guess I'm just used to reading Outlander, which is like 60 hours long and a lot longer. It follows the main character who is not Verity, but Verity is what the book is about. So there is this main girl and it starts with a bang. So she is standing waiting to cross the road and this guy who is on his phone starts walking across the street without looking up, preempting the go walk signal, and gets hit by a truck. And part of me for being graphic, actually, you know, for those of you who don't want to hear it, I won't tell you what happens, but there's blood everywhere and the main character, Lowen, is covered in it. And there is a man who is next to her who comes over to help her, and basically they go to a bathroom and a coffee shop. He gives her literally the shirt off his back so that she can carry on the rest of her day because she has to throw out that shirt, right? And you're sitting there and I'm reading this book and I'm going, whew, I was not expecting this book to start like that because that was a little bit graphic and made me feel a little bit queasy. I was honestly expecting a light-hearted rom-com. I don't know why, because it's Colleen Hoover. I should never have just expected a light-hearted rom-com, but I did. So I've gone into this book not actually having read the blurb, I've just heard about it because it was Colleen Hoover's latest release. I think it came out this year? I'm not actually 100% sure. So I know that it's one of her latest releases, but I actually was under the impression that people weren't loving it. Now I have since obviously looked at the average rating on Goodreads and it's something like 4.35 out of 5 stars. Average rating out of 84,000, nearly 85,000 ratings, which is actually really high. So I should have had, I knew that people were loving it when they were reading it, but I wasn't hearing any people raving about it. Now, I do have one friend who started this book and like put it down halfway through going, no, I don't like where this is going, it's really creepy and I don't want to know anymore. And I fully can understand and appreciate that. So I will say that this book is stressful. I am comparing this wholeheartedly to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. It is that sort of level of stress, you don't really understand what is going on, and everybody is going out of their minds trying to work out what the truth actually is. This book is about the truth, which is a fitting title. Is that not what Verity literally means? Define Verity.
According to the New York Times, the word with the most definitions in the English language is run.
That's not what I googled. So Lowen, she meets this man and she goes to this interview directly after this has happened. So she's wearing a shirt that is a men's shirt, definitely too big for her, and sits in this meeting. And of course, the man that gave her the shirt that she bumped into happens to be on the other side of the panel interviewing her. She is an author and she has been asked to finish writing the last 3 books of this really famous author's series who is now sick and incapacitated. That came out wrong. Incapacitated. And she is, as far as the public knows, co-authoring with the author, but in reality they just don't want the series to not get completed. So she agrees to this deal. She's a bit hard down on her luck when it comes to money and other things, and her mother's just died and blah blah blah, and she's a little bit like, oh well, this is uncomfortable because this man I've literally just met on the street and he knows exactly what's just happened and what I've seen, and basically he ends up convincing her to sign on for this deal because she didn't feel she could do it and was going to walk away. So the whole plot is about her being at his house researching his wife, Verity, and her state of mind and how she was getting into her characters, because Verity wrote about villainous characters. The villains were the main characters in her book. And so Lowen has to write 3 more books, and so she is doing all the research she can to try and find if there are plot outlines and stuff. Now Verity is still in this house. She has been in a car accident and is basically considered like not very functional in her mind. They say she's like a 5-year-old or something like that, but it's like she's less than a 5-year-old. She can't function by herself. She's almost just, she just doesn't really function. She's not really there. She's conscious, but she doesn't talk. She doesn't really do anything for herself. She has nursemaids constantly, but she lives at the house still, so that she's cared for at home. I mean, I don't know if you can see where this is going, because I didn't twig until a few hints started to get dropped that it was a thriller. Which I'm glad that I love thrillers when I read them, because I'm not cool with watching thrillers, but I love reading them. The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield, oh, that really gets you thinking. And then there were none that will keep you up at night. The Girl on the Train, what a brilliant high-tension novel. I just love them, and this is smack bang at the top of this list for me now. I kid you not. Oh, what an amazing week of reading this has been. I even had a moment when I was listening to this, I had my headphones on and I was waiting for my train and I was just zoned out listening to it, not paying attention to the world, to the point that one of my friends actually walked past me on the station and I had to like do this before I even realized that they were there. I was so absorbed every time I had this playing was listening to it. So anyway, going back to the plot, she's at this house, and I'm not going to go into too much more because I don't want to spoil it for you, but basically things start happening that Lowen goes, is Verity for real? Is she actually not able to function, or is this a ruse? And she hears noises, things aren't in the same places, and it really starts to play with her mind because she's going, no, of course not. But then she finds a manuscript, and this is what really does your head in. She finds this manuscript that is Verity's autobiography, and it is an honest and brutal look into the events of this family's lives. Now, the plot twist that comes with this book comes in the very, very final chapter, and it will mess you up. I don't know what to think of this. I need to basically sit down and write a letter to Colleen Hoover and be like, excuse me, madam, please tell me what the actual truth was, because Verity has the story that, excuse the lighting, I know that's giving me a funny look. Like I said, it is late, the sun is setting, this is why this is happening. She has basically 2 versions of the truth, and as she reads this manuscript, she is more and more horrified by the way that Verity has orchestrated events in her life when it comes to the death of not 1 but 2 of her children, her own car accident, and the ways that she's manipulated Jeremy, her husband, throughout the whole story. And you're sitting there going, I cannot believe that this is true. I don't understand how someone like Colleen Hoover, for example, could write it. But as we get to the end of the story and Lowen is going crazy, being like, this woman is not incapacitated. This woman is like a ghost haunting the house and messing with things, locking doors when you're not looking, talking to her 5-year-old son who says that mummy said this. But Lowen's looking at this boy and going, but your mum can't talk to you. What are you talking? It is just... This book is high stakes. I was so stressed the whole time, and I'm so pleased that I have now finished it, but holy shit, this was obviously a 5 out of 5 star read for me, given that I've already told you it made it to my all-time favorite list. I don't understand how this hasn't exploded out of the park. Is it because that we believed that Colleen Hoover could not possibly get any more awesome than she already is? I mean, the audiobook itself was brilliant. I would recommend listening to this. Have the atmosphere of somebody tell you the story. Plant the weird seeds of thought into your mind, because there are actually 2 narrators, because we have a narrator for Lowen and then we have a different narrator, so we get a swapped voice for when we read the chapters of the memoir, because throughout the book as it progresses, chapter by chapter, we read a full chapter of Verity's memoirs, and I can't recommend this book enough. Anyway, I just had to get these thoughts out. I had to share this with you. I need to know if other people have read this and what they thought about. I want to know what the ending means and how Lowen can live with how this book concludes. It is just... It is not as a satisfying ending as I thought it was going to be, but in the best way possible. I am a usual real hater on books, usually Lauren Oliver's books, where the ending is quite ambiguous. But I think this book isn't leaving you in the dark so much as leaving you feeling like you were the crazy one, because you've just read a whole book and you get to the end of it and it's like, I don't actually know what happened. I don't know what happened. And this is where, in all honesty, the only reason that I would say this isn't better than And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie is because Agatha Christie has written something of similar quality, to the point where, like in Verity, we don't know how it was done or what was done. Oh, they are a little bit different, granted, and Agatha Christie writes an afterword in that book to explain it. So I would dearly love it if Colleen Hoover would give us, her beloved, passionate and loyal readers, an afterword to explain or to say what actually happened. I just need to know what the truth was, and this book is wow. So Verity by Colleen Hoover, guys, you need to get onto it, we need to start talking about it, and somebody needs to help me figure out what to believe. I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.